Ovation. I love it.
Hey, this is Greg, Go-AUTOWORKS, and I'm back with another video by request. We had a lot of people mail in or add comments asking if I'd do a breakdown on how to properly run the water lines for a turbo application on your Honda, which I've done it before, but I'll do it again in more detail. So what I have laid out on this table in front of me is our Pro waterline kit that we use in all of our turbo kits when it calls for a waterline application. This kit will allow you to run proper cooling with a permanent install on any of your ball bearing or journal bearing turbos that require water lines. And I'll also show you how to tie in your wastegate lines if you plan to water cool your wastegate. A lot of people don't, but for those that do, I'll show you how to do it. And also with that, I'll show you a couple of optional ways to do it. The Civic behind me that we built here, I didn't use our standard kit in it, but I did use the waterline options that we sell on the site. So I'll show you up close how I ran the water lines on this car as an option for you to help simplify your install. Okay, I wanted to start off by showing you the fittings that are used in our waterline kits. We use these kits in every turbo application that requires water lines to go to the turbo, which usually it's going to be a ball bearing application, but we do have some turbos that are journal bearing that have water cooling ports that you can opt in to add our waterline kit. The same kit is used in each of those applications. For starters, it'll come with our 6AN hose. You can get this hose in either the steel braided like this or in the black nylon version. You get to pick, whichever kind of color scheme or whatever that you want. You can get the hose to match it. The first fitting is this -6 steel male bung. This bung will weld to the water pipe that runs across the back of the block. That water pipe connects the water pump to the thermostat housing, so it serves as a perfect feed for the water line. Once that's welded, it's a permanent leak-free install. If you decide to unturbo the car at some point, all you do is disconnect the line and put an AN flare cap on it, and it's a leak-free permanent feed that'll always work. Unless your water pump goes out, which that happens, you got other problems. The second fitting is going to be this 1/4 inch to -6 male to male fitting. We use this fitting to tap to the upper water neck housing on the front of the block. And it's typically on the front of the block. If it's a Honda single cam B18, be it LS or VTEC version, or H22, they all have this, the water neck on the front side of the head. The only one that doesn't have it there is the B16, which on a B16, it moves it to the back side of the head, which for that, I started to not assemble these water lines in our kits to avoid a fitment problem. Typically, I'd assemble it for the front head fitment, but in the few cases where you run into somebody with a B16 and I've already assembled it, then the line will be too short because the fitting moves from the front of the head to the back of the head. So all you do is drill and tap it to 1/4 inch. I did a specific video about that when I did the B20 VTEC setup. But once you drill and tap that, you can screw this in, and it again allows for a permanent fix for the water line. If you decide to not turbo the car again, you just pull the line off, put an AN flare cap on it, and it's sealed off. You'll get the two -690s, which they'll connect to the center housing of the turbo. You get the 245s, which will typically go to the welded ports used, and you'll get two of the 6AN fittings that go to the center cartridge of the turbo. And I've got some turbos here, and I'll show you how they go in, which is very simple. They just screw in. If it's a Garrett turbo, a Precision turbo, or a Borg-Warner turbo with a water cartridge, it's going to be a 14mm to -6AN fitting. If it's a Turbonetics turbo, it's going to be 16mm to -6. We have both versions to fit whichever turbo you choose to go with. You know, if you have something different, just let us know, and I'll sub in the right fittings for it. It's simple as that. So yeah, these are all the fittings you'll have in the kit. That's all you need really in a basic kit to permanently install your water lines without having any kind of leaking issues or any kind of cooling issues in the water, which the water actually helps cool the turbo after it's running, but I'll get to that later. Now here in front of me, I went ahead and pulled out 3 turbos that are these are all ball bearing turbos, and oddly enough, they're all very comparable in size. I didn't do that intentionally, but they are. First we have the Garrett, first we have this Precision. This is a 5830 that uses the water-cooled center housing from Precision, 14mm ports. The second one is a, let me look. This is the new Turbonetics C15 5257. Again, it has a little bit larger center housing. This uses 16mm water ports. If I can get this out. And the third one, this is the Garrett GTX 30. Again, 14mm water ports on it, which these fittings will screw right in to feed your water to the turbo. The water from the turbo cartridge. So it's in one side, out the other. And with that said, there's not really it's not directional in the cartridge per se as far as water flowing. The water just has to flow through it. What you do want to get into is if you mount the turbo where the center housing isn't sitting perfectly level, if it's dipped to one side like this, then you want the inlet of the water to go into the low side, outlet on the high side. Because once the car is off and not running, if the turbo is slanted that way, the turbo will also begin to siphon due to heat, so it will continue to pull water. So you want it to pull water through the bottom and it flows back out through the top. Okay, when it comes to water cooling the wastegates, it's just as simple as the turbos. What I have in front of me now is a Tile MVR 44mm, which has the optional water ports on it, and also the new TurboSmart Hypergate 45mm. They have also gone in and added optional water line ports on it as well. Both of these are optional, so if you don't use them on the Tile, take the fittings out and just let the air flow through. Don't plug the holes up. It won't come with caps to plug the holes up anyway. So you let air flow through it. If you are going to connect it, all you'll do is take a -4 to -6 T, and you can tie these water lines in to the same existing water lines that you'll put on the turbo. So you're not actually adding complete new lines. You're only going in and teeing into the lines that you've already made for the turbo to run. So it all runs off the same circuit. While these are here, let's take a look at some comparable yet different in design billet wheels. Again, you have the GTX wheel on the end with the Garrett, the new C15 wheel from Turbonetics in the center, and the PTE billet wheel in this 55mm on the end. All work very well. These are all comparable 350 to 450 horsepower turbos that do really well on street cars. We do a lot of street applications here for Hondas, and I like to use all 3 of these. Now, as an option, I also have our block plug. This fits into the Honda D and B series, into the water jacket. On a B series, it's going to be on the front. On the single cam, the Z6 or the A6 motor, it's on the front. But if it's a single cam Y series motor, Y7 or Y8, this is on the back, which in my opinion, that's the only real benefit or block physically on the Y series over the A or the Z, is putting this on the back. It's out the way. So even if it's a tight setup like using our street or a Street X kit where it's a cast manifold and everything's packed in real close. This being on the back allows you to feed from the water pump with our weld fitting and return to the block right beside each other in the back out the way, and keep it real simple and clean. But we sell these separately on the site. They're $36, I believe, a piece. They don't come in the kit, but you can easily sub and modify your kit to use this as long as you have room and clearance behind the block or behind the turbo to make it work. Now, as for the block fitting, you can see on the Civic here, I am using the water port on the front of the block, which there's plenty of room, and it connects using the same 45 I just showed you to run down and beneath the manifold over to the turbo. And this also feeds back to the bottom of the radiator, which is an optional setup. It runs from the front of the block to the turbo and back out to the bottom of the radiator. Let me try to get the car up in the air some more. Okay, you can see here, this is the bottom port on the radiator that was added in. This car is using one of our GT radiators. Typically, we put these on the side of the bottom tank or on the front, just depending on the setup, and you get to choose that. On this one, I put it at the bottom for clearance of the setup using this different turbine housing. And it just so happens that later we came in and added the traction bar, and it just barely cleared it, but it did clear. So again, this circuit runs from the bottom of the radiator through the turbo and back to the block for the water. So all the lines are up front, short, and easy to get to. And just a perk here, or something I'll add, heat sleeving is always a good thing to add, especially when you have everything going on in such a tight spot. The sleeves on these are from Vibrant, and I have them on the water lines and the turbo lines, just to keep the lines protected from the heat that's going to come off the manifold and turbine housing. Alright, and that's it. Hopefully I covered everything and answered the questions you may have. I apologize if I was talking fast, but I realized my batteries on both my camera and my phone were dying, so I had to try to rush through it to get everything in. If I missed something, let me know and I can go back and add it to the next video. But again, thanks for checking it out. If you need any of these waterline parts, the wastegates, the turbos, we keep them all in stock. We keep gates from wastegates from Tile, Turbo Smart, and our new gates from Precision as well. Turbos, we use Turbonetics, Garrett, and Precision. We stock them all, keep a variety of sizes. They're all available on our store. If there's a size you want that's not on the store, all you have to do is email me and I can get it to you at the best price. I always try to offer a great service as well, so let me know what you need and we'll take care of it for you. But again, thanks for checking out the video.